Kyle Livey here, and I am super excited to present this to you today for our professional development. And what I'm going to be presenting today is Classlink. And so some of you have probably heard this before, but I really wanted to dive into it today in this video so you could refer back to it whenever you need to. But also kind of wanted to show you the ins and outs of why this is going to be a huge tool in our future. So, what is Classlink? If you don't know what Classlink is, it is actually a one-stop shop for all of our apps. So currently, probably what you're doing is all of your students have to go to the different sites, or they've bookmarked those sites in their bookmarks bar. But actually what Classlink is going to do is take that searching and typing in all of those different passwords away from the student. All they're going to have to know is one username and password, and if they connect it to their Gmail account, which I'll show you how to do in this video, it's actually going to be so much easier for them. It is also basically a way for you to access all of your files within your Google Drive. And we will go through that as well. And the great thing, what I love from it from a tech standpoint, is that we can see what apps are being used, what apps are not being used, and just look at the analytics of it from that point of view. So what I'm going to show you now is a little quick introduction video, and we will go from there.
Classlink is helping students and teachers everywhere who are trying to remember more and more websites, logins, and passwords with simple and secure single sign-on to any app. Classlink works seamlessly on any device, so students like Jeffrey and Sophia and their teacher, Mrs. Stevens, can easily fit it into their daily routines. They all have a lot of things they need to remember in school, and their own way to keep track of it all. But what about all those web apps with different logins? That list keeps growing, with no end in sight. Sophia is wasting time trying to remember a dozen logins, including several science and math website passwords, as well as her cloud drive to get her files. And Jeffrey can't even remember the name of the website he needs to complete the research for Friday's presentation. Instead, Classlink with single sign-on can remember it all for them. Any app can be added to Classlink, and using Classlink's instant login feature, passwords are automatically saved. With Classlink, Sophia and Jeffrey have instant access to all their apps and files. Mrs. Stevens loves Classlink for one more reason. She can instantly switch between her personal and classroom emails, since it stores multiple instant logins for a single app. Plus, when she leaves her laptop at school, all her apps and school network files can be accessed from home. She's also noticed how students are better prepared every day, since they just need to log in once and have every school app and file instantly accessible. So presentation day, Sophia and Jeffrey are really prepared, earning them a well-deserved A. With our easy instant login feature, we can support nearly any web app, creating a truly connected learning experience. And since Classlink is simple to use and we offer unlimited support, you don't have to worry about complicated setup. We've helped thousands of schools and millions of students. Classlink allows schools to make better educational use of any computer, tablet, or smartphone. And better educational use will lead to better learning for your students. To see a demonstration of how Classlink can help your schools, contact us today.
So as you can see, the ability to have everything in one spot for our students and for you guys, the teachers, is just going to be the beginning of productivity. There's not going to be any time wasting going on for you to log in and log out of different and specific apps. They're all going to be tied in to Classlink. And so the time and the amount of time that you're going to save with leading kids through logging in and logging out, it's just going to be fantastic. So as we go through this presentation, half of this is going to be essentially via the PowerPoint, but the other half is going to be me actually going through the app. So how do we get there? Well, right now, currently, We do have Classlink. Now, not all of the apps are there. Essentially, what we want to do by the beginning of next year of 21-22 is have everything that the district utilizes is going to be there for you guys, and it's going to be tied to your name. So I will be collecting a list from you guys of what you're using so I can get those added for you by next year. So how do we get there? How do we get to Classlink? Well, there's two ways currently right now. The first one is there is a link that you can go to. So you can see right here, this is the link. It's launchpad.classlink.com/central. The other option would be going to our website, centralisd.com, and if you click on staff, there's a link there that is called Classlink. And so these are the two options that you have currently to get there. One of the things that we're going to do for the students is we're going to have it bookmarked in their bookmark bar already. So they won't even need to know this link. They will go up to their bookmark bar where it says Central ISD, and they can click on that and take them automatically to their Classlink. So, logging in. So one of the things that I want to make sure that you do understand is that when you get to the login page, if you are at the correct login page, you will see our logo in the background. Okay. Sometimes what happens is students, for example, will try to go to the login page and they're just going to a Classlink page to log in. It doesn't have the Central ISD. If it doesn't have the Central ISD, their username and password is not going to work on just a regular Classlink login page. So we need to make sure that they are always here at the Central ISD login page for Classlink. And this is essentially what it would look like. Okay? If you are a first-time user, that means you have never logged into Classlink before, or you have never linked your Google account to Classlink, then what your username and password will be is your first and your last name. So for instance, for me, it's Kyle Ivy is my username, and my password will be my lunch number. Okay, so whatever that is. Now this is only for the first time users who have not connected their Google account. Okay, so once we put our first and our last name and our lunch number, we want to hit sign in. Okay, and it should take you to a page that looks currently like this. This is what your dashboard will look like. Now you probably won't have the pretty little background of the ocean because I changed my background. You probably have just a standard blue background there, but you can absolutely change your background once you get in there. Now you're going to see that I probably have some different options than you do down here once you're logged in, just because I am an admin to this, and so I'm probably going to have a few other tools on here, but don't worry about that. Essentially, if you were to look at your neighbor teacher and look at their dashboard, your apps are going to be different from their apps because you may be sitting by somebody that teaches science, so they're going to have STEM scopes, and you may teach math who's going to have Savvas. So, don't worry about what your portal looks like at the moment. We can fix all that later, but hopefully you will see some of the same things that you're going to be using throughout the time. Okay, so looking at the dashboard, there are a couple things that I want to show you as we get started that are going to be important for you to understand. Okay, so if you look in the top right corner of an icon, let's just say for Discovery Education, you can see up here in the top right corner of the Discovery Education, there is a little key. So what the key means is that it's either rostered by Central ISD, which means that we upload all of our information from Skyward into Discovery Education for you, or it means that they are tied to Classlink, and if we haven't rostered it, if we haven't uploaded the students and all of the teachers, then you will have to enter a password one time and Classlink will remember it. Okay? I hope that makes sense. So it's either the key means that it's either rostered by Central ISD or that you're going to only have to type a password one time. Okay? If there's no key, let's just say, like, for instance, ABC, yeah. All right? There is no key up there. What that means is that this is just a glorified bookmark. That means that Central ISD does not have any kind of roster tied to it. Or it means that it's something that you created on your own, or it's not tied to Classlink. Okay? Now, in a little bit, I will show you that I can go into edit mode, which I will show you in just a little bit when I get into the live version. When I get into edit mode, you'll see that a lock will be posted right to the right of the icon. If there is a lock there, that means that it was imported, or that app was put there by Central ISD, and it can't be deleted by staff or students. So what we plan to do is go ahead and tie all of the main curriculum things that we can to those, so you can't, or the students can't, delete those and come to you and say, oh, my app's not showing, blah, blah, blah. We want to eliminate that frustration. Okay, so that's what those are going to mean. All right. So there are a couple things of we need to talk about, and that's integrating Google. Okay. So what you're going to do is, let me freeze this, and I'm going to go into the live version. Live version of Classlink. I want to show you how that you can tie your Google account into Classlink. So what you're going to do in the dashboard is go up here to the top right corner where you have this little silhouette person and hit this little down arrow button. And what we want to do is go into settings. Now in settings, this is where you can change your theme, your wallpaper, what the background looks like, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to go through that right now. But what I wanted to show you is you go to this sign in right here. Now, my Google account is already linked to this. And I know that because of this little red paper clip here. If it was not linked, it would be blue key. Okay, so what I need you to do is click on that, and yours is going to say link. And so I believe you're probably going to have to sign in with your Google account and just follow those instructions to link your Google account to this. Now, you're probably thinking, well, why would I want to link my Google account to this? Well, back at that login page, which we talked about earlier, there's two ways that you could essentially log in. You could log in with your Active Directory, which is a first name, last name, and lunch number, or you could do the Google login, which is quicker if you're already signed into your Chrome browser. Okay, so once your Google account is linked, then you'll just hit that sign in with Google. It will prompt you to sign in, and you will use your Google credentials, and you can go from there. The other important reason of why you want to use the Google integration is because of the thing that they have, that Classlink has, is called My Files. So with My Files in Classlink, you have access to all of your Google Drive documents already within this system, which means that you can access anything that you have in your Google Drive as simple as just pulling it up in under My Files and going, editing, sharing, doing all that kind of stuff within this program. So I just love that ability that we have to use within this program. Now, your students will have that too, but you will have to link their Google account to that, to their Classlink. So that is the benefit of them having their Google tied to it. So once you're in your dashboard, for instance, we're going to use Remind. I can look at Remind and I can see this little key. So it's either a one-time login or it's rostered from Central ISD. So if I click on Remind, it's going to say that it's loading application, and it takes me out and it's asking me, do I want to install this application? And I don't always do it for everything. If you wanted to, you could, but I don't. But as you can see, that it automatically logs me in to the Remind. And so I really don't have to do any login. I don't need to remember my Remind password, username or password. I just simply click on this and it automatically logs me in. So this is a great tool for just using all of these different apps, okay? So that's the benefit of having that. Plus, everything that we use at Central ISD should be here, okay? So what happens if this gets a little overwhelming because you've got all of these apps to look for or look through? Well, simply, you could use this search bar. So if I knew I was looking for, let's just say Follett, because you can't see Follett there because it's hidden in my library resources, I could start typing it in and it's going to show me the two Follett things that I have. So you can always use the search bar, which is a neat little quick tool for you to use. The other option that you have is a thing called edit mode. Okay, I was actually in edit mode at that time. But edit mode, what it allows you to do is, I don't know if you remember this, but in the settings, when we went to connect our Google account, we had the option of changing our themes and our backgrounds and our wallpaper and the app size and all that kind of stuff. And so it gives us those options too in edit mode. But if I hover over these apps, I can see that there is a little lock on this one, okay? And remember, the lock means that somebody at Central ISD put that on your system and I cannot delete that, okay? If I keep hovering over these and I see one that doesn't have a lock, for instance, skyward, which is this little X, that means that it can be deleted, all right? So if it was put on there by the tech staff, it will have a lock. If you put it on there, it's going to have an X, so you can delete it, all right? So we also have the option to add folders. So you can see two folders that I have created here. One is for my Google, which has all of my Google apps within it that I will use on a daily basis. The other one is going to be library sources, all right? So all you can do is hit that folder and create a new folder. Now the other option, let me get out of edit mode, is that if you're just on the wallpaper here, you can right click and you can add a folder or change the background right here. Now you don't have all of the options that you had within edit mode, but you do have some where you can add folders and change backgrounds. So how do I add an app to a folder? Well, there are a couple different options. Just like your phone, you could click and drag until it sits up in there in the folder like that. Or you can right click on the app and you can add to whatever folders you have created right here, and it will do that. Now, one of the things, even if you right click on that, you have the ability to launch it and set to auto launch, which means that anytime that you open up Classlink, that app is automatically going to launch without you having to click on it or anything else. Okay. So the other feature that we have with Classlink is the ability to add any apps that Central has not added for you. Okay. So up here at the top, you're going to have a little plus sign that says Add Open App Library. So if I open that up, I basically am pulling up 6,000 different apps that are currently tied into Classlink. Okay. So for instance, if I wanted to add my Google Classroom, I'm going to go up here to the search bar. Excuse me. And I'm going to type in Google Classroom, and you can see that it is here, okay? So since I'm education, that's the one that I want to add. Okay, I've already added both of them, so I don't need to do that. But that's how you would do it. This, instead of saying remove, is going to say add. And that is how you would add different apps that you may want. Now, you can go through here and surely you can scroll and find, different things that, may be tied to things that you didn't even know. But this is how essentially you would go and add your own apps. Now, some of these, you see this about.com, this is just going to be a bookmark. There is no, you can't do a sign in or a sign. I can't roster that for you. Now, this one, if we use this absent management, then I could roster it for you. So it just depends on what the key, or if the key is there or if it's not. So that is how you add apps to your dashboard. I've currently logged in as a teacher, and I want to show you what a teacher's dashboard will look like currently, but I also want to show you what you have access to as a teacher. Okay, so these are the apps currently assigned to this teacher. And you have two things down here. You have My Analytics, which is going to show you all of your information, such as the login information that you've done, how often you've done it, what is the app that you've used the most. But you also have here, well, My Classes. Okay, and so I'm going to have to block out or blur a lot of this information, but I just kind of wanted to show you what was in this under My Classes. So you have the 3 classes, or you may have 8 or how many ever that you need here, or how many ever are tied to your Skyward account. But what you can do is you can see what apps are currently tied to each one of these students in these classes. And then I can click on this. I can make announcements to these students that are in this class. I can also see what apps I can assign specific apps to specific classrooms. So let's say that, for instance, if I was teaching math and I needed my math students to have the Desmos calculators, but I also taught a science class or some other kind of different class and they didn't really need the Desmos calculator, then I can go in here and add this app specifically for this one period. Okay. I can also see what students are in this class. And what I love about this is that I can go through here and these students, I can click on the analytics of these students. And it's going to take me and show me essentially how many times they've logged in this year, how many times a month. I can look at their login record. I can look at their information. I can also look at their login not information, but history. You know what they're logging into. So that's really cool. But what I love about this also is that if I go to logins here, I can actually see who's logged in what days. It checks it off for me. And then if I click on this, so for instance, if I go to, let's say, let me go back a week, a previous week, I can see that this student was on here for 32 minutes. I can click on that and I can see what they were on for 32 minutes, what app they were currently on and working on. So I can see that this student was on the McGraw-Hill for 32 minutes and 34 seconds. So these are really cool analytics for you as the teacher to see what the students are doing. And it's going to be that across the board. So you can go to each one of those different classes and see. You can also go to the login summary. You can go see which classes you have logging into those apps or through Classlink. And so that's one of the huge benefits of us using Classlink to access everything next year, is because we get this analytics and we can find out what we pay for and see if we're really using that information in the following years, and see if we need to even get rid of it. You know, if things are not being used, then there's no reason for the district to continue to pay for it. And those are things that we want to be able to really dive into and understand. So that is the option that you have with My Classes. Okay, so it's the same thing with these with this teacher. You basically up here is the same thing as My Analytics and My Classes. Okay, right here, this little silhouette on the bottom right is going to be the accessibility tools. So I can increase the text size, I can change the lighting and all that to make it more comfortable for me as a teacher, but your students also have that ability to do that as well. So just a neat feature that Classlink's done. For your lesson with Classlink, I hope you learned a little bit about the ins and the outs of what Classlink is going to offer us for next year. So anyway, there'll probably be more to come as we add more features to it. But if you have any questions, you know how to find me, and look forward to seeing you next year.